And we're live.
And
Welcome
if y'all could
everybody
hear
to
the conversations we have.
the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today joined by Aaron Larsoul, Raj Chapalu, and in a little bit we're going to be joined by Edwin Garcia, who does the recap work for Silver Screen and Roll. He's running a little bit late, so we're just going to get this thing rolling as the three of us right now, and whenever he pops in, he pops in. Today on the show, we have to discuss the Lakers getting LeBron and AD back as they get ready for the Philadelphia 76ers. And then also there's some Kyle Kuzma talk. There's some Cam Reddish talk. There's some All-Star talk, which is I think a moving goalpost as well. I do like to start these things off with a kind of random question. And I see that Raj has an adult beverage in front of him.
Finally.
Despite being like 18 years old.
Do you need my ID? I brought my ID with me. I'm used to showing those at lounges, so I'm used to showing those.
And also looking like his camera, for whatever reason, either has butter on the film, he's rubbed butter on the lens, or it's a hostage video. One of the two.
I got to say, of the people who would have butter on their lens, pretty big upset. It's not me, right? Like it's not. But Raj, what are you drinking? I'm curious. It's pink.
Yeah. So my usual drink, I didn't bring it because I knew you guys would attack me. I'm a Red Bull vodka guy.
No, that's reasonable.
This is strawberry lemonade.
It's terrible for you. But
wait a second. You thought strawberry lemonade and whatever else would be the better option for us not making fun of you?
What's the whatever else?
This is a vodka, so strawberry lemonade and vodka. Yeah.
And you thought that would be, and you thought we would make fun of you less for that than a vodka Red Bull.
Well, vodka Red Bull sounds like such a, I don't know, like a party drink. I don't know, like you don't really just casually drink.
This is a party.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm getting lit.
That's fair.
With your red wine. With your red wine in the club like Rudy Fernandez.
I remember vodka lemonade was the first drink that I had that was a hair of the dog. That was when I learned that hair of the dog works, was drinking, and there's Edwin, who is just now joining us.
From crypto.
From moneylaundering.com arena.
From
Edwin
crypto.
Garcia is joining us from there.
And he freshly washed his hair.
I can't hear you guys.
Oh, well.
Okay. Well, it's not great. Put headphones in, maybe?
All right.
All
so
we're off to a great start.
Nothing like a first impression.
Yeah.
So
we've learned that Roz is afraid to tell us he drinks vodka Red Bull, so has instead gone with pink lemonade and vodka.
Yeah.
Honestly, Edwin doesn't have headphones in. Perfect. Maybe we should just make this a hook and just get rid of these two. Get rid of the kids.
That's tomorrow. As if we're so organized. Like our show is just...
but hey, if we pull it off.
What we are known for is organization in our content.
Yeah, clearly.
All right. So what do you... All right. I know, Raj, you would probably prefer to talk about basketball first. Aaron, you would definitely probably rather talk about basketball.
Let's talk about basketball.
Over the smoke swirling around the Lakers as far as what they might do personnel wise. So we'll start with the upcoming matchup between the Lakers and the Sixers. And this is an incredibly sports radio topic. But I was asked, because I did the Liberty Ballers podcast today, our Sixers site, and I was asked, where AD belongs in the center conversation, the top big conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think that the most reasonable take here is that AD is in that top three, right? Where you have Jokic, you have Embiid, and you have AD. You can have those guys in whatever order. Some people might prefer Jokic. Other people might prefer Embiid. This season so far, I think AD's having the best season of the three of them. But I want to start, Raj. Like, do you agree with that collection? Do you think somebody belongs there, or do you think Do you think that that's a fine grouping as it stands now, and how do you have them ranked?
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. I think those three are definitely the top three of centers in the league. It's kind of what you prefer, though. Like, obviously, Anthony Davis, you can't like run an offense through him. I think the way that obviously Jokic can, but I think, he has the most two-way potential of both of them. So I think like at their peaks, I think AD I would have at one. I think just in terms of like who has the highest floor, I think what you put around Jokic probably gives you the highest floor. And then Embiid is just like never healthy enough to me in the playoffs. So like you can kind of flip back and forth with those three, but I think AD's been the best so far to start this season for sure, just with his two-way potential and with the games that he's played. I think he's been at the top of his game more than like both of those have so far.
Raj is definitely getting canceled in Philadelphia for saying that Embiid is not healthy often enough, as he puts Anthony Davis at the top of his list.
Yeah. So my first question in all of this, as I answer this, is how many phone books is Raj sitting on? Because we are getting like only some of his even forehead.
I'm in a chair. I don't
adjust your camera. So I kind of agree. I think that welcome Edwin. Yeah, look at that.
There he is.
I think that AD certainly has the highest two-way ceiling of all of them. But to be fair, those other guys, obviously with Jokic winning back-to-back MVPs and Embiid finishing second, I think twice in a row to Jokic, I think those guys have a longer track record. But so to be fair, right, I'm going to take the Lakers homer hat off. And to be fair, I think that AD...
You're wearing a Celtics hat right now.
I'm wearing an Oakland A's Kelly Green hat, as you can see if you're watching us on YouTube or Twitter or Facebook. I think AD does have the highest ceiling. I think AD has the most versatile game. Obviously, like the versatility in Jokic's offensive game is second to none, but Jokic is nowhere near the defender AD is. Embiid can approximate what AD can do defensively, but doesn't have the versatility to the offensive game that AD has. So I think at all of their peaks, AD is the best center in the league. Shout out tinfoil hat Anthony Irwin for finally bullying AD into playing center full time.
It took
so
3 years.
I think AD has and this is scary to say when comparing him to the guys that have finished first and second in MVP the last 2 years. But AD to me does have the highest ceiling of the three of them. It's just a matter of, we've seen it now for a few weeks from AD and obviously the illness notwithstanding, but can he continue this level of play, for another 10, 20, 30, 40 games the rest of the season into the playoffs, et cetera? Because if he does, he is right there in the MVP conversation.
I think he has the lowest floor, though, right? Of the three of those guys, I think the highest floor. I agree. I think Embiid's floor in the playoffs is lower because Embiid, because of his conditioning, offensively can get baited into doing things he's not good at. And so I actually think Embiid's floor is the lowest in the playoffs. In the regular season, I agree with you. It's kind of crazy that we have an MVP candidate that we like regularly just say, yeah, he's out of shape. Like that he's literally, and it's not Jokic. It's not the guy who looks round.
I mean, they both look like they're out of shape.
Jokic is going to be the all-time greatest athlete who breathes primarily out of his mouth, right? Like he's
breathes out of his mouth. You called him a mouth breather?
Oh, have you seen him? My dude always looks like he has a head cold. Like always, just perpetual sniffles. Edwin, you are joining us here. You do recap work here for Silver Screen and Roll. It is your first time, I believe, on any of our pods, my pods, certainly. We started the conversation here while you were figuring out the headphone situation, talking about the top three bigs. Is there any big that we've mentioned Jokic, we've mentioned Embiid, and we have mentioned obviously Anthony Davis. Is there a big that you believe belongs in that group that we haven't mentioned?
Giannis. Giannis is the one. People have always, talked about the ridiculous AD trades, and we've talked many times offline since I have not been invited till today about how that's really not realistic for so many reasons.
You haven't been invited. You haven't. You showed up without
so
headphones.
well thus far.
Yeah, maybe that some reflections probably needed there.
You're doing the show from the nosebleeds at crypto.com apparently with freshly washed hair.
My background was too messy, so I do something there. Right. But yeah, Giannis is the only player.
My pillow.
Giannis is the only player.
Were you a luchador in a previous life?
Giannis is the only player I would take over AD that plays a similar position, i.e. the 5/4. Although I don't really see Giannis, switching from the 5, because he's that good. He's that incredible. He's a focal point of an offense. He's won a championship that way, and he's just so athletic, so strong. We know how his issues with the free throws, but he overcame them during that championship run at least. And that's the only player who I look at. I'm like, even when AD's at his best, I don't know. I might still take Giannis. Every other scenario, when AD's at his best, I'll take AD over any of the other players mentioned. Jokic just is so weird because he does things so differently, right? He moves like as fast as Anthony, but he still gets everything done. So that's like what's so special about the Joker.
I know, yeah.
Hey, last year,
I don't know.
I
think Anthony Irwin may have some athleticism over Jokic.
In the 40-yard, who wins?
At the beginning of last year, I'm not making it 40.
20 yards in.
I got a good 32 yards in me. After that, that's about it. No, I was talking though. I was kind of marveling at it because I had this topic came up on the pod that I did. And I gave whatever answer I could. I'm not, this has probably gotten me in trouble over the course of my career that I'm not sitting here like, there is one answer to this question and anybody who says anything else is just stupid, right? Like I just am not capable of that kind of delivery. And it's so fascinating to me that you have, I don't know if I would necessarily count Giannis in that group because the other 3 guys that we mentioned right now are starting at center. But I also understand if people do, and we've just kind of meandered into like a golden era of centers. It just kind of like happened where like I know, Hakeem for my money is the most translatable big in basketball history and in NBA history. I think the further you go back after that, guys start to get a little slow. Guys start to, their games that don't really translate quite well. They aren't quite athletic enough. You can maybe make an argument for Wilt just because he was such a freak of nature. But yeah, I think where we're at right now, it's so fascinating. It's such a cool statement about basketball also that you have these 3 guys who go about the game in such different ways, right? Anthony Davis is this pterodactyl, Giannis also a pterodactyl. And then you also have, you have Jigglypuff in Denver, and you have
Jigglypuff,
and then you have
the Stay Puft Marshmallow,
yeah, right. Especially when they wear their whites, yeah, definitely. And then Embiid is just kind of this. I think he's the closest to a classic big that they have, and even he seems to have kind of a modern twist on it, given how well he shoots the ball. It's just how does it? Aaron, I want to know because you've paid attention to basketball longer than us. I'm saying this nicely. Hey, I'm being political. You don't have to. No follow up question needed here. Right, but right. How do you think this happened? How do you think we just kind of stumbled into this caliber of big?
I have a very specific answer to this. I think I have it figured out. And part of it is.
Are you about to say Steph? Because every answer is Steph.
No. But I've been having this argument on Twitter for a few years.
Okay.
And then it came up again with not who was on my side with Sam Esfandiari, who does a Light Years podcast for the Warriors, about there's these like this group of old head guys who for some reason think that basketball hasn't gotten better. It is the one human endeavor that has not improved with evolution, training, diet, science, coaching, etc., technology, etc. And it's absurd. Which is why I said on Twitter that Larry Bird is basically Nikola Mirotic in booty shorts. And that this year's go
on
watch
his birthday.
Go watch the 87 go watch the 87 finals. Go watch game 4. You can find it on YouTube. Go watch Game 4 of the '87 Finals.
Yeah.
Lakers Celtics, the two teams of the decade, with I don't know 12 Hall of Famers between the two teams. The 21. What year are we? The 22-23 Orlando Magic would obliterate either of those teams because it's
because Bol is like the greatest player ever.
shout out R.I.P. Manute Bol, my favorite player ever.
Yeah.
But what I think has happened here is that because of the changes in the game, guys that used to be not have any skill and were just bigger than everybody else can't play anymore because they're not skilled. They can get run off the court. And so now we do have those enormous humans like Embiid, like Joker, and to a lesser extent like AD. But you also have the guys that wouldn't have been centers back in yesteryear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green, like those guys would not have been centers back whenever because they weren't big enough, quote unquote, either not tall enough or not big enough. But we are now, because the game has evolved, we are now drawing from a larger pool of guys that we consider centers. And so they're much more skilled. They're much more athletic, right? Like from centers back in the day were Bill Cartwright and Mark Eaton. And like those dudes literally can't play anymore. They just, they simply can't play in this NBA. And it's not because they're not good enough. It's because the NBA has gotten better. Everybody else has gotten better. So that archetype just doesn't work anymore. And so I think the reason why you're saying it's a golden era of centers is because we still have those humans, but they've been forced to evolve and be more skilled. And we have the other guys, Bam Adebayo, Draymond Green, like Pascal Siakam, etc., that are considered centers, but wouldn't have been before and are so skilled that they can play center now. Even like Kevin Durant plays center a bunch. LeBron James plays center a bunch now.
Yeah, well, that's because the Lakers don't sign anybody taller than 6'6".
That's wrong. LeBron played center last year.
I know. Yeah, when the Lakers again.
No, they did not. They had guys. They were just hurt.
And old and decrepit.
LeBron can play
potentially
center
dead
in this NBA.
Yeah,
and that's why it seems like a golden era for centers because there are more like skilled guys available. There are more good basketball players that now are considered centers.
Can I quick side this kind of a tangent here, and Rudy Gobert is a fascinating subject because in any especially in prior eras, right, he'd be seen as an incredible big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although maybe potentially his holes in his offensive game would have been more showcased because they did just pound the rock inside, and Gobert would look useless if he has to do anything other than just breathe and dunk.
Go throw a jump hook over a 6'2" guy, yeah.
Right. But the Gobert thing is fascinating to me, and Raj, I want your take on this one, but I feel like in terms of I am almost never anti-analytics ever. I think analytics, all it is information, but the analytics people were loud. Huh?
Edwin going Oktoberfest on us.
I was told the beverage was a requirement, so I went and got this.
Go big or go home.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so but the analytics, the real loud analytics people were extremely loud as far as actually Rudy Gobert is the better player between him and Donovan Mitchell. And yeah, they both go to do two different situations, and the situation for Donovan Mitchell, he fits a lot better into that situation than Gobert did in Minnesota. But everybody in Minnesota appears to hate playing with Rudy Gobert, and
shockingly,
the Cavs.
There was nothing that might have hinted at that in his previous stop.
The vibes have been pretty immaculate in Cleveland. I'm curious, so Raj, because you're not anti-analytics. You'll cite whatever stat and stuff. But I do not recall a time in my life where analytics were this wrong in telling a story between two players as they appear to have been between Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. because that narrative was loud. Like, yeah, that's great that Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert are on the market, but actually the player you kind of want more is Gobert. That was a crazy one to me.
Well, it was also evidenced by the fact that Utah got more for Gobert than they did for Donovan.
Also
in
that.
trade. Yeah.
Also that, but that's because A-Rod
Which was
is a
insane
new
at
basketball
the
owner
time.
and he's a moron as an owner. But like, yeah, like what do you think? What do you think was going on there, or do you even agree? Like, you don't even have to necessarily agree with
Well,
the premise.
Honestly, I hated that trade from the jump. And I said at the time, I think, it moves Karl Anthony Towns to the power forward. He's not a power forward on defense. And then it just
Yeah.
sticks you into this. To me, the league is about versatility. And I think the thing about Gobert, he's like really good at this particular thing. And your defense
Yeah.
has to play a particular way with him there. I got killed for going to the Clipper game, but I went to the Clippers, Jazz game 6. And
Wait, hold on. You went
No,
to
you didn't
Hold
get
on,
killed
what?
for that. You got killed for the fact you had a jersey on and you were.
No, I
Yeah,
didn't have
I-
a jersey
There
on.
were
Don't
pictures
do that.
of you hugging Clipper Daryl.
Come on, no.
Yeah, I
He's
thought it was
I'm
really
so
weird
excited
that, like,
to finally witness a Western Conference Finals.
They kept showing Steve Ballmer, and there Raj was sitting right next to him. It was the craziest thing.
He had Laker questions. That's
He
all.
said that Western Conference, sleep hit different. I was like, what's going on with Raj? That flip was crazy. That was wild, Raj. We can't let that one go.
No, but like, so in that
Pictures of
game,
Raj as like a 7-year-old decked out fully in. It may have even been San Diego Clippers at that point, but he's definitely got Clippers gear on.
there's got to be some laws against like Photoshop being like when someone's a kid, right? Like, keep my innocence at least. Like, those are like, there's got to be some laws against that. They've got me in like Bucks, Celtics, Clippers jerseys. Like, there's got to be some laws against that. But
I don't think there are. Maybe eventually,
yeah,
but
probably-
Nope.
maybe not.
Nope.
look, man,
If
if
we
you
can
if
put
you
children
if you
in cages, I think we can Photoshop Raj into Clippers, Bucks, Celtics, etc. gear.
if you tweet that Lob City sleep hit different, then like whatever
never
people put
tweeted
you
that.
in as a kid is out of your control.
Well,
He
yeah,
was
I mean,
celebrating
really, to be
today's 11-year
fair-
anniversary. This is a good day for Raj. He remembers this day fondly.
To be fair, Raj, what really got you is when you tweeted out that when Blake Griffin jumped over the car in the dunk contest looked better than when
I
Kobe
never-
jumped over the car for
Oh, I
his Nike
never said
commercial.
anything like
That's
that.
really what did you in.
Don't do me like that.
Raj, we
I
still
went-
see your likes.
Aaron, I'm trying to have people forget that. You keep bringing it
All right,
up
brother.
every.
Okay, all right, brother. I got it. Okay.
I stopped
again.
after you told me. I stopped after anyway.
Never again.
But yeah, I went to that game
Gobert.
6. Gobert, back to Gobert, yes. Somehow back to Gobert. But the Clippers just switched recklessly on him, and they had like Reggie Jackson guarding him, and they had like Terrence Mann guarding him, and they were just completely fine with it. And I think like just the combination of not being able to be versatile and like can't score, that's like his issue. But the broader question I had, especially Aaron, you brought up like Anthony Davis having the higher ceiling in the playoffs. I think you said Jokic probably has like the highest floor. I mean, I said Jokic has the highest floor, but my question, even with the advancement in bigs, can you win if your center can't defend? Because Edwin, you brought up Giannis as like the
No,
comparison,
you cannot.
and I think
No,
that's
you
the
cannot.
question here. Because as good as
No.
Jokic is in the regular season, can you win if you have a big that can't defend? And that's the question. Like, and those bigs, you said they're out of style now, but I think of Ivica Zubac, like he's incredible on defense, and that's why he can play. And other bigs of that nature can play because they can defend. And then you have guys like Jahlil Okafor, who's just out of the league because he can't defend a lick. His offense doesn't matter because they get ran off the floor with him. So like, that's my question. Even with the advancement in centers, the perimeter like is so important. That's why I always thought Donovan
but
Mitchell
that's
was
the part,
more-
and you have to make it. You have to differentiate between can they defend, right? Because Zoo is a good defensive player, right? Jakob
Yeah.
Poeltl is a good defensive player, but unless you can guard on the perimeter when you get switched out there,
exactly.
Gobert's okay at it, but not proficient. AD
He's
is proficient.
okay
at it.
he's okay in an 82 game regular season sample, and that's where Jazz Analytics Twitter was using was like this 82 game. Oh, Rudy Gobert, when he switches, the numbers are fine. Yeah, but then it's like Paul George 50 straight times, like like you
Right.
and then the
There's a
numbers get
there's a
destroyed.
difference when teams in the playoffs are hunting it, and
Yeah.
Anthony's old boss is going to tell us about screen assists and why it doesn't matter.
No. He's decided that they don't matter anymore.
Well, he's
The craziest
Gobert's
thing
not there anymore.
as soon as Gobert is no longer a Jazz, the Jazz employee says that those screen assists are now bullshit.
Yeah,
Um,
they were always
yeah,
bullshit.
it's the weirdest thing.
I think you cannot. Here's the thing, Raj. That's a good point you're making. No, I don't think you can win at the highest levels if your center can't defend. But even more so in the playoffs, as opposed to the regular season,
Yeah.
for a center being able to defend means you're going to have to spend 20, 30, 40% of your time dancing with Steph Curry or Ja or Luka or Trae Young or those kind of guys.
Trae Young is
And-
not going to be in the finals. You don't have to worry about
I didn't
that.
say finals. I didn't say finals. I said
You
in the
never,
playoffs.
ever have to worry about Trae Young being
I
in
didn't
the
say
finals.
finals. I said playoffs. You're going to have to dance with those kind of guys. And Kyrie, like, you're going to have to dance with those guys. And if you are not at
You may
least
not have to worry
competent-
about Trae Young showing up to shoot around. Like he's just like he's
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not sure that. I'm not sure that. And by the way, I mean, due to my time in Portland, I'm going to fully take Nate McMillan's side on all of this. But-
look, man. I've heard some shit about Trae Young. Like so, Trae Young is
I
not
have
like
two.
yeah. Like there's a lot of stuff on Trae Young out there and his dad. Like remember. It was like this with Ben Simmons too, where like when Ben Simmons, there was all the stuff about like, you know, his teammates don't really know if he's that committed and all that stuff. By the time that came out, there was already like 2 years worth of shit that came out on Ben Simmons. I was like, yeah, this guy's
It's
never
not good.
gonna
No,
get
the
it.
intel. The intel is not good. And frankly, he got Lloyd Pierce fired
Yeah,
because they didn't get along, and now he's not getting along.
surely it is the coaches who are the problem.
Clearly.
No,
And,
did you guys not hear? He said that they're all good. So
yeah, no,
don't have to
clearly
worry about
they're
it
all good. No,
anymore.
it'll be fine.
Do you think he took a picture with like
It'll be
John
fine.
Collins lying there?
Yeah,
on
and by the way, John,
floor
and by the way, this has nothing to do with the fact that John Collins has been on the trade block for I like basically before he was even drafted by the Hawks. John Collins has been on the trade block.
he's a fascinating one. He should be like, I don't know. But yeah, I want to talk about the notion of like a big not being able to defend, because I think that's a good point. But I also think that also really depends on the talent around him, because like if you just dropped Rudy Gobert in Toronto, right? And you had all of those wings that just fly around the perimeter. Like I was watching poor Austin Reeves, man. He got the ball across half court and you could just see it was just sheer terror on his face. It was that gif of Chris Pratt in Jurassic Park where the actual Raptors are like there and he's just like,
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
don't run. Don't run. All right. I need to make a pass here, please. No quick movements. I just got to let me get a ball across half court. And so, like, I think if that's the situation there, I do think, like, maybe not Rudy Gobert because he's too useless on offense. But I think if it's like Jokic, because Jokic, I do have questions about his defense on the perimeter. But I do think you can get away with having Jokic in that kind of a setting when there's so much athleticism and there's so much defensive wherewithal that, like, you can make that work. And, you know, now that gets back to like the defensive floor, right? Where Aaron talked about Anthony Davis's floor in the playoffs. He was so incredible defensively that the Lakers, like this year, you could get away with playing Buddy Hield because you have Anthony Davis, right? But if you have Buddy Hield on a Jokic team, then you're really concerned about your offense there because that's putting a ton of pressure on those other three players who are out there, right? And I don't care, like you might have you kind of sort of need like 3 Scottie Pippens to make that work. If that's
And not Scottie Pippen Juniors, just 3 actual Scottie Pippens.
Actual Scottie Pippens. Edwin, do you
He had a
think
game winner the other day, Scotty Whip.
He
He
did.
did. Yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
the concern here? I love you, Raj. You're my favorite.
I love that Raj finally got his camera in the right place, so he doesn't look like he's 7'9" anymore.
Like I had to fix the height concerns.
Put a couple
that
books up
people are
under there?
asking.
No, my favorite is Ernie is tall enough that he doesn't need to like mess with his chair. But for a while there, oh gosh, this person doesn't host anymore. I forget who this person was. But you could see it on NBA TV where you could see like the chairbacks that like like you could see this part right here.
Yep.
And every so often you would see like the NBA players and their chairbacks are all pretty much aligned. And then they would show like the host would just move just a little bit this way, and you would see his chair back. It's like way up here because the seat needs to be that high in order to look like not tiny next to those guys. But
Hold
yeah,
on, I gotta say bye. My sister's back. I gotta say bye. I gotta go say what's
Your
up to my
sister.
No, my
Your
sister's actually back. My sister's actually
okay.
I mean, not,
Who will
not
be
saying she's
later
the only
accompanied
person
by-
that's gonna hang out, but my sister's actually here. So
All right, all right.
I'll be
Bye,
good,
Aaron.
but not that good.
Well, that's not. You're the concern in that respect. You're. So Edwin, I'll go to you. Like on the notion of like the surrounding talent, and this is where it gets tough because this is a cap sport, right? So it's kind of like running backs in football, where like people always say these running backs are you can switch them in and out and all that stuff and all that, but it does help to have an elite one if you have that kind of an elite one. And I think that's where we keep running into issues with the Karl Anthony Towns of the world, the Rudy Goberts of the world, the John Collins of the world, where those guys get paid because they're really effing good and because the max salary inflates the max system inflates non-max players' salaries, but you still kind of have to pay those guys eventually. So how do you go about like surrounding a lesser talent in Rudy Gobert with the offensive talent that you need, or a Jokic who is not good defensively with the defensive talent that you need? How do you make that work there? Do you just have to hope that you have a guy on a rookie contract that outplays that thing?
I think for Gobert, it's just not possible because of the goal of winning a championship. Right? Like if the goal is just playoffs, if the goal is just to win regular season games, it's fine. But if the goal is championship, it's like you said, what you're investing in. Teams latch on to the identity of their stars. You can tell the Warriors play a certain way, and that's a lot because of Steph more than a system. And the Lakers have to play a certain way because LeBron is the guy. And the Bucks play a certain way, and they got certain players to help Giannis with the flaws he had in his game. They got the players to kind of complement him. And I don't think you can do that in Minnesota.
We talk a certain way because Raj is on here. Like there's just, yeah.
So I just don't think he's talented enough in the things he's good at, even though he's really good at them. The problem is, again, with the playoffs, with so many wings, they can stretch the floor. They're shooting. Everyone wants to do the thing you cannot do. And that's the problem. Everyone's playing one way and you're zagging, but then here it just really hurts. I don't think, like you said, it would have to be like Kawhi, Paul George, Chris Paul on the team. And, that's not a realistic team to have to build around Gobert. And I think that's the problem. You can't really build him. The only way I can see the Timberwolves really making noise is if, Anthony Edwards just goes absolutely nuclear and says, he's dropping like almost 40 a night and says, I'm just going to win these games. And again, that won't be Gobert doing it. It'll be someone else just playing so out of their mind that it forces the situation.
I think eventually they're going to have to trade one of Cat or Gobert. That's going to be a fascinating one to see who they choose and what the return is. Because
do you know what Cat's contract situation is? I'm not sure how many years he has left.
Didn't he just extend?
He just extended. He got a giant extension. So, yeah. It's going to be an interesting one. And he can't move. Like, he's the backbone of that franchise before Anthony Edwards shows up.
And the issue, too, Anthony, is when's the last time two bigs have worked? I think the last time I saw someone try that was the Pelicans with, DeMarcus and Anthony Davis. Again,
they were good.
That those positions keep changing. But I think having two like that really anchors you down on what you need from the other three players on the court.
Well, it's two max contracts at those spots. Is the thing. You can have two really good bigs. You could have your identity. I mean, the Lakers won, right? With an identity built around bigger, stronger, faster. So you can go about doing that. But JaVale was on a $4 million contract, and Dwight was on a minimum. And then you had AD on a max and LeBron on a max. Yeah, it's fascinating, this stuff, because I think sometimes bigs. Man, I'm going to try to say this nicely. I question some bigs' passion for the game more so than I do like guards, right? Guards, you have to go through such a gauntlet of people who are your size, your level of athleticism to get it, to make it in the NBA world. Bigs, there are only so many 7-footers who are like who can walk and chew gum at the same time. And if you're one of those people, you know, you just kind of get pigeonholed into, yeah, you're going to be a basketball player. And then, you know, if you're athletic, you're going to be a really good basketball player. You're going to get a bunch of opportunities that, you know, don't always correlate with how impactful you actually are on a court and how passionate you are about the sport. So
yeah,
it's an
it's a
interesting
short
subject.
person bias. Not to Raj. I'm not mentioning you by name, but you know, as a smaller person myself or average height, you know, we always feel that, right? You're on the court.
Well,
and you see
what's
like
average, Edwin? What's average?
I would say average is 5'8". That's what I would say is average.
Okay, right there. I'll live with that. I can live with that.
So, you know, you see in the playground, right? Even just colloquially, right? Like just friends
Edwin,
playing,
how,
right?
how tall are you? Are you exactly 5'8" or are you 5'8" and 1/4?
No, I'm 5'7". I'll own up to it. I'm 5'7".
Slightly below. All right.
Easy. So you see it on the playground, right? We've all played, you know, basketball to some extent, right? And there's always like, you just feel something about like when the big doesn't roll, when the big doesn't get the rebound, you're like, I'm trying so hard out here. And can't you just do the simple thing? Even if maybe they are giving that effort, you get that feeling that they're bigger. They should be they should be matching my energy. And for some reason, it feels like that doesn't always happen.
Or like it would look different if they had that, like if they brought your amount of energy to it, they would be more impactful because they're bigger.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
All right. So I wanna segue awkwardly now that Aaron has gone to my disdain for the way that the Lakers are being run. And
Oh no.
we get a report from Adrian Wojnarowski, who said essentially that the Lakers are now holding on to their 2 picks unless they are getting an all-star in return. Now, my immediate takeaway from it, and we don't have to go here, is that it's like more information or more data that backs up my point that I don't think they actually want to make this trade. I think, Raj, you've been on that track too. But I think more interestingly, does anybody hate the 2020 Lakers more than the Lakers who are still around from the 2020 Lakers? Because like, how are we still doing this? How are we still like, what are you doing with we're still trying to do the 3-star approach here, Raj? Like I know you don't like talking about trades and stuff like that, and you like seeing the positives in people, like a weirdo. But like but like when it comes to like this approach of, you know, star fuckery, the way that the Lakers exist, like when do they realize what it took to what they won with? Like, what's going on?
So really quickly, I love trades in like July. You know what I mean? Like I love trades in like August. Like I think that like before the team gets all put together.
February?
And, you know,
can we like, is February okay?
yeah. See, February is supposed to be like trade deadline. And look, I know we don't.
I
love
thought you were about
give
to say
full-
Valentine's Day. February is supposed to be
What?
hearts and Hallmark Channel.
That's like All-Star game time. What are you talking about? No. No, but like during that title season, Pelinka went and got like Markieff Morris, right, in the deadline. Not to like pump up Pelinka, but like that's like the stuff that's supposed to happen in February, not like change the makeup of your basketball team, which is why I think I've told you many times. I don't think a move is coming until this team, which again sounds hypocritical and contradictory as like, you know, just in logic, but like they want, you know,
Illogical.
illogical,
we
yeah.
keep finding words for it. Stupid, backwards,
Preposterous.
ridiculous. Yeah,
No, but I think that
cynical.
there's like a few boxes to check, and it was like, can LeBron and AD look like LeBron and AD? Which I think we're getting close to those boxes being fully filled out. I think AD, you've seen it. LeBron is still kind of going on this upward trajectory to get to where he was. And then like this, can this team have its head above water? I don't know what if 4 games under 500 is indicative of that, but I think that's where we're at. Like this, I'm tired of like every other day feels like another report just telling me like, yeah, they're not going to do anything until this, and they're not going to do anything until that. And then and they don't do anything. So then it just keeps happening.
Edwin, do you think they want to make a trade? Do you think that's something they want to do?
Want's a strong word. I would say if they wanted to make a trade, they would have made a trade. You know, like
What's the word? What's a softer word I could use?
Do they have a desire to pursue a roster change.
Do you think the Lakers have like firewall set around like the trade machine? Do you think like you type in trade machine
like
to
when
Google?
you go to school, they wouldn't let you
and-
use YouTube. Like this site is blocked.
Yes. Yeah. They have site block. They have parental guidelines on Rob Pelinka's computer. You are not. Tim Harris is telling Rob, don't even go to that website. You can't even do anything. I'm not letting you. Sorry.
Aaron's like that young thug meme trying to unblock it.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I don't think they do. I mean, obviously, if you would have told me, after the exit interviews last year, if you would have told me, hey, Russ will be back on this team, I would have bet you anything that there's 0% chance. I would have said, did you see this season? No way they bring him back. And even when I heard,
did you see Russ's own exit interview when he called the Lakers liars? No, I don't think they let Russ. I don't think they really let Russ be Russ.
And even when people were trying to be nice to him, obviously this would be a dream. This isn't my dream. It's like, dude, I'm trying to help you out.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's my favorite genre of Lakers press conferences. Is like the beat reporters lofting up these floaters of questions. Russ, how did you feel about the fans showering you with praise? Fuck them. What?
Well, one person told me that the thing about certain people, not Russ specifically, I'm not talking specifically, but certain people, they're such jerks that they can't stop it even when they're trying not to be jerks. It just comes out, right? And Russ is a particular way,
like
and I don't think there's a question that's going to get him not to be that way.
I think KD just said he's that guy, right? Because he gave that question about Aaron Judge, and he was like, "That's great, whatever." He's like, "Oh man, I sound like a dick."
Yeah,
and
he's
he
like,
tweeted out like, "Aaron,
to...
welcome back to New York." Yeah. I don't know, man. I wrote about it for Silver Screen and Roll, and the subhead on this story is that through not through words, right? They can leak all you want, and Raj, to your point, it is like every other day there is some new category of player that the Lakers are looking to acquire. There is new competency that the front office is demanding of the players, which again, I just find so hypocritical, because what I do not think when I think about the Lakers front office is competency. And like when I think about, their actions and what they've actually done here since the trade deadline, maybe it's that Rob Pelinka has convinced Jeanie and their inner circle that, it was all Clutch who forced him into trading for Russell Westbrook, and now they have to, they made the bed, now they have to lie in it, kind of a thing. And the other possibility here, and it's something that I do hear quite a bit in conversations with some people around the Lakers, is LeBron is nearing 40, and Anthony Davis does, for the last couple of years and for much of his career, lead the league in trips back to the locker room. And, and when I hear it from people who are around the Lakers, it does make me think like, okay, yeah, they have serious doubts about what LeBron and AD are able to do. And they are terrified of the potential scenario here where they trade those two picks, AD and LeBron get hurt, and now you're just completely screwed, not just this year, but for the next half decade, I guess, as well. My only thing is, like, you guys are more fans than I am. You do this long enough, and eventually you get so cynical. You see the way that the sausage is made, and it does make you kind of rethink your fandom to a certain extent. But Raj, like, isn't it just a better message to look like you're trying? Like, is it even if the logic says, and trust me, I'm the person who, when they gave Kobe the 2-year, $48 million contract, was one of the worst days of my fandom, because I'm thinking maybe he'll sign it at a discount. At that point, they were still thinking about signing LeBron and Carmelo Anthony. And then you find out that LeBron and Carmelo Anthony were interested in coming. Had they signed Kobe to a lesser contract, like that day that he signed that 2-year, $48 million extension without having shown that he can actually still play basketball, really, really sucked for me. And Yeah, and so like there, the logical thing would have been, hey, here's our number, Kobe. If you can get this somewhere else, all props to what you've done for us in the organization. Here, the logical thing, if we're following with the logic that the Lakers front office seems to have, is ride out the rest of the season, maybe revisit a LeBron trade after this year, maybe talk about, in a really quiet manner where nobody can really hear you, moving Anthony Davis after this season and going full rebuild. That's the natural that's the natural outcome of this approach that the Lakers are taking. And to me, though, like, you can't do that with Anthony Davis playing like this.
Well, first, I hope I never see how the sausage is made. I hope, like, I hope I
You
never
just
have
want to rewatch all the games,
Yeah,
never
let me
talk to
just-
anybody who was involved with the process.
Yeah, let me live in the fandom. No, you're right. Like, I think if LeBron was 30, like, I think you can go with this approach. But like, I always say it out loud, and it just still sounds crazy. He'll be in year 21 next year. Like,
Yeah.
that's a crazy thing to say out loud, and he's averaging like
His career is
25
able to drink that Red Bull vodka that you didn't want to pour for yourself tonight.
Yeah, that is that's what he can still probably do it and play a game. But yeah, like, I think
You watch him at the end of the games, and it makes me wonder.
but no, you're right. Like, that's why I was surprised too. I thought they would definitely, move off Russ. And I think, when we signed LeBron in 2018, you get, like, you're in the LeBron James business. Like, that's what you've gotten into. Like, we were in this, like I watch Boston now, and sometimes I think, like, okay, maybe if you kept Ingram, and these aren't perfect player comps, so forgive me, but like, I do like Ivica Zubac maybe as Robert Williams, or
Mhm.
Jaylen Brown maybe as Lonzo, who I think is a lot better than people remember because of the injuries. And then Kuzma can be whoever, maybe, and Caruso maybe as Marcus Smart. Like, these aren't perfect comparisons, but it's like, if you're in that business, then yeah, you go slow. Boston, they made the Kyrie move, but really only gave up Isaiah Thomas, right? They never like went full in board. You traded everything that you were terrible for years for Anthony Davis, and you have LeBron James signed. And all those other mid-level contracts, you got lucky. You got Danny Green, you got Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma extended. You're in that business, and now, like, we're in just this we're tiptoeing between. Like, last night, I think about the Toronto game, how we just kind of punted that game.
Yeah.
The signings this summer tell you of like punting it's like punting a season type of signings, right? Let's
Again.
just see how Russ looks, kind of thing, and it's worked out. You got lucky that like Darvin Ham was able to get him in a bench role. I still don't think it's great. I still don't think you can close with those three. I think there are just core issues between those three in terms of their skill level, that they just can't be on the floor together. Those are detrimental to your ball club. But like, yeah, I think a move should have been made, and now it's like kind of late. Like, I'm hearing this Patrick Beverly and Kendrick Nunn. Like, what are we doing? Like, this, what is that getting you? Like, there are people who
Kyle
watch our
Kuzma,
games.
maybe.
There's no way. They're watching our games too. They're watching Patrick Beverly shoot 15%.
Do you think
from
that's
three.
the thing? Because I'm not positive that Rob watches non-Lakers games. Do you think other GMs doesn't watch the Lakers? And he's like, hey, look, last year Pat was good. He hasn't missed
I
the
think the
playoffs in
Wizards were going to
forever."
pull in the trade, and then they looked up your Twitter. They're like, well, these guys suck. We have to go full propaganda. It's got to be like a collective. Hey, everyone, no more Kendrick Nunn jokes, no more Patrick Beverly slander. It's all great. Just don't watch the game. It's all going wonderful. These players are, it's going to be tough to let them go.
It'll be just heartbreaking to see Kendrick Nunn walk out that door. Edwin, though, isn't the error of commission more tolerable than an error of omission in this case? Because like, there is nothing worse to me. Like, one of my least favorite Laker of all time is Brian Cook, and then like right after him is Tyler Ennis. And the thing that drives me insane about both of those guys, and Damian Jones kind of fits into that category at the beginning of this year. Lately, he's figured out, I am actually allowed to sweat. I don't have to take pictures right after this game. How about that? But like, there's nothing worse to me than a less than talented player, who also doesn't try very hard, who also isn't willing to go and dive on the floor and take a charge in those things. And I used to watch Tyler Ennis play, and it would just drive me insane. It's like, my dude, you're playing like you're good, but you're not, you know? and it's all these errors of omission that drove me insane watching him try to defend out there. And to me, it's like, if Rob Pelinka makes this, we'll just say it's the Buddy Hield and Miles Turner trade, and he does give up these 2 picks, and then Anthony Davis and LeBron James get hurt, I couldn't hold him again. I couldn't hold that against him. He tried. He gave these guys one more shot at a championship, and I would much rather be in that kind of a situation here than this weird, like, half in, half out thing that Raj was talking about. Like, to you, maybe you disagree, but like, to you would you rather go with the conservative potential error of omission rather than going, throwing bad money after a couple bad bets?
I'm really split on this one because I don't think Miles Turner and Buddy Hield can necessarily make a big enough jump. I think if you get the 5 seed versus like a 7 seed, is that worth 2 first-round draft picks a couple years from now? It is today for sure because it makes the team a lot better to cover, but it might not make it better for a couple years. And that's exactly what Pelinka mentioned on the introductory press conference, right? That he has to get this right because after this, that's it. And like you said, but the punt in the season is painful. But I guess the only thing I don't know, and maybe even Pelinka doesn't know, is what's behind door number 2. Okay, let's say they punt the whole season, right? They're just going to write it out. Can you get something better than Turner and Hield next year? And if the answer is secretly, they can't talk about it, but yes, so-and-so or the X player is going to come or this is a package, then that might be a better scenario. The problem is that's a lot of hypotheticals. I have to guess who's available, who's on the trading block, who's going to request a trade, the money. It's so complicated. It's hard for me to kind of quantify that because I don't think there's any huge free agents available next season. So it'll have to be some other way via trade, request for trade. And that's the tricky part. And that's the part where that's why I'm not as upset because I feel like that addition's maybe still not enough. And I just wonder what the alternate scenario is. Unfortunately, you gotta, like you said, you gotta make a decision because if you don't, you'll end up with no seats at the table and no options.
The thing that I am nervous about though just you wait. They'll have another pick at the draft. Is all right. Well, they'll draft that player. We really like this player that we drafted, and then after that, it's like, dude, we have cap space at the in this offseason. Right. I really wish people would be more realistic about what that cap space is able to do for you. $30 million really isn't much. It's not even enough to go out and get a max guy. We know that's what the Lakers intend to do anyway. It's funny to me to hear the Lakers say we will not trade these 2 picks for anything other than a max player. We have to maintain this cap space. Okay, but you don't have max cap space. Well, it's just none of what they're doing to me seems very consistent, and that I think is the last thing that I take issue with here is that there just doesn't seem to be a very consistent approach. You signed up for the LeBron James tenure, right? We've all been to Vegas, right?
Yep.
Everybody here has been here. We know how a 4-day weekend in Vegas goes, right? You get to Vegas and you're real happy to be there. Your pockets are full because you've saved up for this trip. You go out there, and that first night that you get there, you're still kind of feeling things out. You go, you hit the tables for a little bit. You maybe pick up an okay dinner. You see how things go there. You drink plenty, right? Because you have the entire weekend to make up for it. That first night is great. The second night, that's the good one. The second night is when you've probably made reservations at a real nice restaurant. You have plans to go out either after the restaurant, either to a club or back to the tables where you've allotted a certain amount of money that you can play poker with or blackjack or whatever your vice is. And then that third morning though, that Sunday morning, you wake up, you're like, oh man, this is getting a little light. I'm a little nervous about how this is going. I'm going to have to keep things a little down to earth here. But then you get out and you're like, well, hey, how about that? It's still fun. It's still nice. It's still nice to be in Vegas. And then by the time you get to that fourth Monday, you're like, get me the fuck out of here. My bank account is gone. I might not be able to pay for rent. Like this is, but again, when you got there in Vegas, you knew how this was going to go. By the time Sunday rolls around and you're broke, you know, yeah, I was here in Vegas. That's how this was supposed to go. That's how the LeBron situation goes. That's it. Like every tenure he's been at.
Yeah.
The first time around in Cleveland, it was like, man, we drafted LeBron. How incredible is this? And then by the time he left, he's like, man, we really need to tank because we have zero assets left over. He gets to Miami. Same thing. Wow, this is incredible. We revolutionized basketball. By the time he left, he's like, man, you know, if he went to Cleveland, wouldn't be the worst thing. And then he goes to Cleveland for the second time. And it's like, incredible. He's back. We won a championship in the second year of this. This is great. And it's just like, it's the same cycle over and over again. And the idea that now of all times, the Lakers are like, we don't know what we signed up for. LeBron got here. We have no idea. How are we broke? It's like, how are you surprised that you're now sitting with 2 draft picks left? That's part
exactly what happened.
that drives
You're
me
right.
insane.
And with LeBron, that's what I was telling, Laker fans, way back in the day when LeBron got signed. I'm like, here's what's going to happen. Like, I'm going to let you know now. Because we've all seen it through the history. I'm like, they told Luke Walton, right? I got good news and bad news. You got LeBron James. What does that mean? That means, guess what? Look at the coaches that was there when he started. Look at the coaches that were there when he left. Look at the players that were there when he started. Look at the players that were there left. Look at the future draft picks when LeBron gets there and the future draft picks when, you give him the keys to the car and he's going to wreck it. Now, the great thing is you also get championships. Got to give him credit for that. But you're also going to get, he runs the team, clutch, his decisions, it's all his stands come by, all the hoopla, the media coverage.
And you're going to be broke by the end of that weekend.
Yeah, and you won't get a ring, just like you did have a good time in Vegas, but you're also going to have a hangover. And maybe we're at the point where we realize, you know what, I don't think aspirin's going to fix this one.
But the difference here, though, at least in my opinion, like when LeBron came this time and why I thought it should be different, and using your Vegas analogy, you went to Vegas with an extra kind of jackpot because you had Anthony Davis with you. You know what I mean? Like Anthony Davis is the jackpot with you. You're not supposed to leave Vegas. You're not supposed to leave Vegas
and
broke.
you knew that you were going to hit a number in roulette. Like as soon as you got to Vegas, you're like, I'm going to play 12 and this thing's going to hit as soon as I get there.
That's the difference, though. Like Cleveland, Kyrie was never really seen that way, and plus he asked out in the middle of it and was gone. Miami, I think, had an aging D Wade. You have an in the prime Anthony Davis, and that was supposed to be the difference. And I remember when we did the New Orleans trade, they're like, you traded your young core, and I think somebody, I forgot who it was, I think it was Zach Lowe. He's like, your young core is Anthony Davis now. Like that is your young core. That is supposed to be, you start way ahead of any other team that would eventually lose LeBron or LeBron retire, whatever.
The ages don't work, but maybe we're in a kind of Shaq Kobe scenario where that transition of power will happen once LeBron actually leaves. The problem, Kobe was like 22, 23, and like Anthony Davis, like what, 28, 29. So there's a little discrepancy there, but maybe we're actually going to see that changing of the guard. It's been a while since power has changed in LA that way, because when Kobe left, we just fell off a cliff, right? And when LeBron leaves, usually that's the same thing that happens. Maybe this is a scenario where there can actually be a transition, or maybe, when Bron leaves, so does AD. We know their contracts are aligned as well. Yeah, it's going to be, I always say it's never boring, but that doesn't mean it's not scary being out here.
Yeah, I don't know. For me personally, I think it's you knew what bed you were making. You knew, like, it's a 4-hour drive to Vegas. You have plenty of time.
Anthony. I think I understand your analogy now. You want to go broke. You're like, look, we already lost everything. Like, I'm putting the last $18 I have on blackjack, and I'm going to put the gas on my credit card, and we're going to get home.
No, what the Lakers got is like, all right, you have $50 left in your bank account, and you're playing at $25 blackjack. So you have you have $25 left in your pot. After and what you've done, because AD has been incredible this year, the dealer just tossed you an 11, and you have a choice. You can ride this out. You can probably go. You can be safe and still have $25 after this. But that $25 is going to be a new hand. That $25 that like if you don't double down, that $25 is going to be a brand new hand. When the odds are stacked against you because the house is always going to win. What I would rather do is, yeah, it means I'm going to have zero left to me, but I would rather double down there because that's a better chance. Like betting on LeBron and AD right now is a much better bet than this front office figuring out a rebuild. What?
Anthony, this is the first time. I don't know if it's the Vegas analogy, but this is the first time I think I'm on your side. The 2 picks aren't enough anyway, so just use them. We'll go broke, and whatever happens. We maximized as much as we could the LeBron era, and afterwards, hey, we'll find a new Brian Cook in the. Jen's
gonna be pissed at me regardless if I get home with $0 or $50. She's gonna be pissed. So I may as well go for broke and turn my $25 into $75. And then from there, if I can keep on playing from there, if I just bought myself a little bit of gap, as you do when you have Anthony Davis playing like an MVP, then if they were somehow like, it's funny to see them talking about, and Raj, this is a point that you make better than just about anybody, but like when they talk about it's title or bust, that means that there's never anything being built. There's never any real direction of your organization. And that's the part of this that it's really kind of tough to fathom, is this notion of, because it's title or bust, that means we are never, ever, ever, ever going to be focused on anything beyond this season, which means that you've enjoyed the veteran minimum, whatever it is, Ferris wheel that we've been on. You've enjoyed that because it's going to keep on running. We're just going to keep on doing this. And I see people in the comments who are like, well, if they keep their $30 million, they can sign Lonnie to a longer term deal and they can sign Troy Brown to a longer term deal. And it's like,
that's the problem.
Yeah, we're signing up for more of this team. This is what we want.
Run it back, as Harrison would say.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That's why I've been on the trade for the Pacers for different reasons than just because the cap space means a lot of things, and this is more detailed than most people probably want. But like you let Russ expire, which means you get none of the value of that contract, and I think
Nothing.
The thing that people don't speak about a lot, Montrezl Harrell was also in that Russ deal, right? And most fans wouldn't care about Montrezl Harrell being gone, but you lose that 10 million salary spot, right? And then you lose the 13 million Kuzma salary spot, and then you lose the KCP. I think he was making 15 million salary spot, and now you have morphed all that into one player, and that one player is not even close to bringing that value. And then if he expires, like it's just like there's no plan, like that's why I think that's why the Turner Heel thing, they are flawed players. That's the reason they are on the market, right? They are flawed in how they play in their talent level, but they are not minimum. They aren't vet minimum players. Like they are players that would get 10 million, 15 million in a market. So that keeps you able to build around a LeBron and AD team rather than just the league is too good to me, Anthony and Edwin. Like go look around. Like go look at Denver paying Aaron Gordon. They gave Aaron Gordon 4 years, $100 million because that's what you have to do when you find a good player that fits your system. Is Aaron Gordon worth $25 million a year? Probably not. But like you find that player, you have to pay them, and you can go around the league and you find contracts like that all over because that's just how the league works now. So I'd like us to kind of get in that game of like find good. If we did the hard work, is like you found Caruso in the G League, got him in your system, got him G League to league minutes to being a $15 million worth player, and he walks for like 10 million, or like that's the stuff that's like you did the hard part. The hard part is finding those dudes and like not actually just paying them when they're good. That's the like supposed to be the easy part. But
well, and also like Buddy Hield next year would be an expiring. Like that's an expiring contract that is very movable next season. So like, all right, fine. It doesn't work out this year. You don't win a championship, but do you make it to the playoffs? Do you get there and do you maybe win a series, maybe two? And now all of a sudden you're making some actual progress. And it's like, yeah, you have LeBron nearing 40. So progress really isn't the name of the game here, but you do have like no team, find me any team in recent history who has made a trade for a player and immediately, like the Lakers are really the only one, right? Where they made the Anthony Davis trade, but they already had a collection of really good role players. They make the Anthony Davis trade and they win a championship that year. That's an outlier. That doesn't happen very often, like not unless it's just like a cheat code kind of situation. And by the way, the Anthony Davis thing, like we can all call a spade here. They got Anthony Davis because he's clutch. Like that wasn't like Raj said, they showed up to Vegas and they showed up in their first hand. They showed up and the house told them, hey, bet as much as you want on this hand. You are drawing 21. No matter how much, whatever you bet, put $50,000 down on this bet. And that's essentially what the Lakers did, right? They put
their house down, yeah.
Yeah, they put the house, they put their pink slip. Now they have 2 houses. And so like, it's like, and so like this notion that the Lakers are just going to repeat that. We're just going to keep, which by the way, they're going to repeat after pissing off Clutch by not committing to a LeBron James timeline. Like you're just going to keep this thing going when you aren't going to maintain that relationship. I don't know. I don't see it. I keep on having the same rant, I feel like, but I don't necessarily see it.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially what Raj said. Like, good organizations don't let regardless of skill of player, the money just die. Look what happened with the Warriors, right? With Durant, they made it a sign-in trade. That's how they got Wiggins. Like that move at the time, it was like, oh, who cares? Wiggins, he's been a bust his whole career. Look what Wiggins has become now. And the reason was, the Warriors could have just said, oh well, whatever, he's gone. But instead, they negotiated that into there. They worked it out. They're like, well, let's get something for this guy. Like, we can't just let him walk like this. And they found a way to figure that out. And if the Lakers took all those players, turned them into Russ, and then just let Russ wilt away, I think Raj is right. That's an even more of a way. Now you wasted the asset that you used with all your other assets. So it's like, it's just not a smart move. It probably is a good idea to see, okay, let me get value for that money instead of just seeing it go to zero. And like you said, that money's not even worth as much as, some people think when they hear it.
Yeah, and we talk about the assets that the Lakers are wasting, but they're also wasting some capital here with the fans. Like the late Dodgers fans. I'm a Dodgers fan, and I'm going freaking ballistic at the off season that the Dodgers are having, because here it is, this team in a not cap sport, a sport where Xander Bogaerts, who's a good player and all that, he just signed an 11-year contract at 30 years old, because it's all funny money in that sport. You can move whatever contract you have to move whenever you have to move it. And this notion that the Dodgers are like, well, we have to reset the luxury tax here for the chance at Ohtani next year. It's like, what? You just won 100 and something games last year, and this is now here's the line in the sand.
You're not excited about Jason Hayward signing a minor league deal?
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled about Gavin Lux, who sucks as a second baseman, now playing shortstop. Fantastic.
We officially lost Raj. I don't know how to put Jason Hayward in basketball terms for you, Raj.
Yeah, no clue.
He's like a good, like a 3-and-D wing who wasn't necessarily very good on offense, like an elite defensive wing who like you just kind of hoped you got anything from him on offense.
Yeah, but now a little washed,
like
and
Portland
you're really taking
Nicholas
a flyer.
Batum.
Yeah. There you go. That's probably a good one. Yeah, now you're taking a flyer on a guy who's kind of out the league, but you're like, maybe I can bring him back in. It's basically the situation.
Well, like Otto Porter Jr. last year is like what the Dodgers are doing here this year. So,
It's
all right.
player,
So
I felt good coming in here, and then I don't even know. I think I feel bad coming out. Is that a normal like Anthony Irwin production?
No, I think that was the 3-gallon beer that you had. You need to go take a Pepsid.
I got you.
All right, that's going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge, an actual lounge environment as we all had cocktails here, and we all, I think, had a pretty good time. Aaron dipped because he has an even better time lined up, it sounded like. We're going to keep doing this thing, though. 6 o'clock Pacific, that we are going to keep on diving in here and having these conversations. This is always a blast. Thank you, Raj, for dipping, or for dipping. As soon as we had the baseball conversation, thank you, Raj, for dipping. Thank you, Edwin, for making your podcast debut. This was fun. Remember your headphones next time. And until next week, I'm Anthony Irwin. This has been the Lakers Lounge. We'll talk to you in a bit.